What is up, wrestling fans? KayFabe Chronicles with your host JP. I wasn't expected to do a video today, but due to some circumstances, sadly I do gotta. I feel that it is my duty as an old school wrestling fan to talk about this. So those of you guys that didn't hear, legendary Hall of Famer, and just one of the most interesting wrestlers that I was ever able to ever lay eyes on. George the Animal Steele sadly passed away. Um, it's kind of hard to like really explain like what George meant to a lot of like the old school wrestling fans like myself. Granted, by the time I was born, he was already well into his career. I'm born in the early '80s, and he'd already wrestled. Tons of times before that, he'd already kind of semi-retired and came back. But the very first time I ever got to really lay eyes on him was WrestleMania 3. WrestleMania 3. I was about 3 at the time. Of course, the match I'm talking about, legendary Intercontinental title match between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Macho Man. George the Animal accompanied Ricky down to the ring. I played a huge part storyline-wise for that. Him trying to like win over Miss Elizabeth. It was like the first time I saw it because I didn't really know who he was. I was like, who's that random guy? His mannerisms were really bizarre. I was a little kid. I didn't know what was going on. It wasn't pretty much until a little while longer. I got the George the Animal Steele LJN solid rubber action figure, which was great. Came with like the hair, came with the green tongue, and I really got to fall in love with him as a character. Like, he was one of the first original like oddity style character wrestlers. He became someone different. As a kid always watching wrestling, like the gimmicks were always like something that you would want to believe. I wanted to believe that the Berserker was a Viking. I wanted to believe that Yokozuna was an actual sumo wrestler. I wanted to believe that Papa Shango was a voodoo doctor. But the way that George played his character is you felt that maybe this guy was as crazy as he was. Just the mannerisms that he did in the ring, like the flailing of the arms, and he would just kind of stare at his opponent, chase him down. But everybody would fully agree, just the eating of the turnbuckles. Every time he would just stare at the turnbuckle, you knew what was going on. He would just rip it off, eat the foam, and then take the foam, shove it into his opponent's face. Just the way that he carried himself as the character in the ring was just truly something absolutely amazing. All the way from going to WrestleMania 3, you got to see the different side of George. It showed that maybe he's not just an animal, maybe he's not a monster. He had that little soft spot for Elizabeth, and he was trying to win her over. So you saw that he was able to play two different characters, the crazy animal, but also the heart-stricken love guy there. All the way that he carried himself in the ring, the green tongue, the way that he broke the rules, the little stuffed gorilla mine. If anyone knows out there where I can find one of those, that would be great. I would love to add one of those to my already crazy ass extensive collection. That'd be a great thing for me to get. But yeah, just a lot of the little things that he just did to make it work. But above all, one thing I loved was his finisher, the flying hammerlock. He would do a reverse hammerlock and lift the guy up. It looked so brutal. It looked like the guy's shoulder blades would just pop out of their sockets. That's how brutal that move looked. And you don't see stuff like that anymore. You see all these ridiculous submission moves where they fold them into pretzels. It was simple. He just held him in a hammerlock and lifted him. What else was there to it? But just show just talking about my collection. Like I said earlier, the LJN George the Animal figure was one of the first figures I owned as a kid, and of course, when the Classic Superstars came out, this was the very first one I bought. George the Animal from Series 2. Look at the detail in this. It comes complete with the hair and everything. It is, like I showed earlier in my Jimmy Snuka video, it sits proudly on my wall. So, said the Classic Superstars are only reserved for wrestlers that I truly felt influenced me as a fan, and George is definitely on there. One last thing I'm going to talk to about him was actually his acting career. Not many people know, but he did star in the Tim Burton version of Ed Wood, where he played Swedish wrestler Tor Johnson, who of course made his acting debut in the original Plan 9 from Outer Space, and just like George just played that role great, like a big brutish bald scary man, and it was just truly awesome to see him on the silver screen as have actual dialogue and seeing him as something different besides like the animal. So yeah. So that's pretty much all I got. I said he was just truly just one of the first people that I watched in the ring that made me believe in the whole character aspect of wrestling, and able to see that there is two sides to every persona. So yeah, today is a sad day, but you know what? 79. That's pretty good in my opinion. Like I said, he touched a lot of people. It was truly an honor to watch him, like in the wrestling ring on the silver screen, and he'll always be right here. So thank you, the animal. You were truly one of my favorites of all time. Rest in peace, and I'll see you guys next time.